Shadow Sneasler gonna fire off the aerial ace, looking to remove Granball from the field of play. Sneasler rapidly running out of HP. Show me something we can nuke. Oh boy, ask and you shall receive, as out comes public enemy number one, but it's going to be straight in and straight out. Welcome back to the channel. Buckle up, because today is going to be one hell of a ride. We're taking another look at my favourite series, You Can't Shield Everything. Today's battles have been submitted to the channel by none other than the Shadow Goat himself, my favourite battle in the world, XBoston. He is running a triple Shadow, triple close combat theme team, so you already know today we are going booming. Leading today's line is going to be Shadow Ursaring, not even running its newly buffed move of Swift. Boston going for Trailblaze to catch unsuspecting water type sleeping. In the back, we're going to have the Sneasel Sneasler combination. Need I say any more? Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game one, XBoston leads Shadow Ursaring into Shadow Typhlosion, some Shadow and Shadow crime. Incinerate going to tear for our big bear, but likewise these Shadow Claws will start chunking. The opponent going to strike first, firing off the Thunder Punch. Boston invests that Protect Shield, goes for the correct two Shadow Claws and the Trailblaze for optimal fast move timing. Trailblaze is resisted, but does vamp up our attack. The opponent able to get that full Incinerate farm down. Boston sends in Sneasel. Sneasel able to get the Poison Jab farm down and a very nice running start on energy. Out comes Drifblim. This is by no means a good matchup. However, Sneasler has a very high attack stat, and Aerial Ace, despite being a pretty poor move, will hit for some decent chip damage. Boston forces the final Protect Shield, and we see the pivot into Sneasler. Sneasler going to invest the Protect Shield, blocking up the incoming Icy Wind. Boston not messing around, goes for one Shadow Claw, and the Aerial Ace looking to remove this blimp from the field of play. The opponent survived, but were able to Shadow Claw farm down afterwards. The opponent's final Pokemon is Ariados. Oof, if he wasn't debuffed, this Aerial Ace would look like a very good move. Despite being debuffed, it still gets the opponent low and they throw instantly. In theory, Sneasler going to completely wall Ariados, but we're far too low to survive. A charge move, back out comes Sneasel. Sneasel withstands the poison stings, reaches the Aerial Ace, and that's going to be all she wrote, with Boston off to a very quick 1-0 start. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we see Ursaring into Dragonite. Despite this not being a Shadow Dragonite, we're not going to tank these Dragon Breaths particularly well. If you was to punch Boston's team in onto PV Poke, it wouldn't get an F for coverage. It'd probably get a Z. They'd make a new category just for how glassy this team is. Boston fired off the Trailblaze, forcing us an early shield advantage. Boston now sends in Sneasel. Sneasel going to be looking for that one shield. Poison Jab farm down. Hopefully we can get it before the second Dragon Claw is reached. Dragonite able to reach the second Dragon Claw, which puts us in a very peculiar position. Boston, not willing to tank the damage, goes all in on Sneasel. Does get energy, but the opponent still has a Protect Shield to hide behind, but out comes Ariados. In this scenario, unlike the last battle, we should be able to survive at least one charge move. The Trailblaze would be single resisted. Lunge, which hopefully they throw, will be double resisted. The opponent fire off the double resisted move, just wanting to get off a debuff. We now pivot out into Sneasler. Sneasler also going to fall victim of the debuff treatment. The opponent then pivots out into Bibarel. Bibarel might be hoping to survive a charge move as we're debuffed, but there is no shot. Get that Bibarel off my screen. Back out comes Ariados, and Sneasler gonna easily clean up as Aerial Ace gonna pick up the one-hit KO. What a win. GG's. Heading into the next battle. Finally, we see a good lead. The Shadow Claws from the Shadow Sableye are going to be double resisted, as normal does double resist Ghost. The opponent stays in. Boston going to fire off the Trailblaze, looking to vamp up his neutral Shadow Claw damage. The opponent able to survive that at minimal HP. Boston unwilling to shield Ursaring. I can't believe we actually lose the zero shield scenario. Come on, Ursaring, you've got to do better than that, buddy. Out comes Sneasel. The opponent saves Sableye on 1 HP and a Dream, and switch lock their Frostlass. Boston fired off the Aerial Ace and then makes the pivot into Sneasler. Sneasler going to be looking for that one shield. Shadow Claw farm down, which we're able to get. Out comes a Charmer and Ninetales. Both Sneasler and Sneasel are only going to take neutral from Fairy due to poison resisting Fairy and fighting taking super effective, but a lack of bulk makes these charms definitely look super effective. We fire off the back-to-back Aerial Aces, forcing the opponent all shields down. Back out comes Sneasel. Sneasel looks to reach the Aerial Ace. The opponent makes a savage catch, catching back onto the 1 HP Sableye. It's going to be Poison Jab versus Charm. Sneasel holds strong, and we take that game. In the next battle, we see yet another little pesky spider. I imagine Boston's going to pivot in this matchup. Two back Pokemon do resist Aridos' usual moveset. They could run Shadow Sneak, but I highly doubt it. Boston makes the catch onto Sneasel, and out comes G-Weezy. This is not a particularly good matchup for Galarian Weezing. They do only take neutral from the poison jab, so they're adding up far quicker than their fairy wins. Despite Sneasel's lack of bulk, the opponent is going to have to fire for play rough or overheat to remove us from the field of play. The opponent gets greedy, settling for the brutal swing. Sneasel withstood the damage, reached the aerial ace, and forced us a protect shield here in the mid game. Boston, thinking about what to send out, sends back out the big bear. I'd consider shielding here, as it's likely the big movers are only going to reach one, and with a pesky spider in play, you want to keep at least 2 Pokemon around so you can reset any potential debuffs. Boston fired off the Trailblaze, forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield, and here comes Sneasler. Sneasler about to fall victim of that debuff treatment. The opponent fires off the lunge, but continued to stay into. Boston going to take the initiative, removing this pesky spider from the field of play. Aerial Ace might be debuffed and a shit move, but still secures the knockout. Out comes Wish Daddy Cash. Boston able to reach the close combat. Close combat unfortunately doesn't get the job done as we're debuffed, and this game suddenly got dicey. Ursaring gonna need to survive a mud bomb. Boston shields the first on the off chance the opponent threw this gold. This is only a mud bomb. Can Ursaring survive? Oh! Holy cow, that is quite literally 1 HP and a dream. Ursaring hangs on, reaches the Trailblaze, and we take a very close game. I'm going to be honest, I was sweating there. Heading into the next battle, we lead Shadow Ursaring into Unova Stunfisk, or the Pancake as I more commonly call it. The opponent going to strike first, firing off the Mud Bomb. Ursaring is just such a glassy Pokemon in the Great League. Mud Bomb does so much damage, but not as much as this Trailblaze will do if it goes unshielded. The opponent invests that Protect Shield. These Thunder Shots adding up thick and fast. Boston going to invest a Protect Shield. Not only can outpace to the next Trailblaze, and let's see if the opponent's willing to go all shields down. The second Trailblaze is fired off, picking up the knockout. Out comes Crocalor. It's pretty nice to see this as opposed to its evolution Skeledirge, as it isn't a ghost type, it's a pure fire type, meaning our poison jabs are going to be neutral, and we could even nuke them with a close combat. Boston actually banks the close combat for the road, pivots into Sneasler. Sneasler going to invest a Protect Shield. Can we Shadow Claw farm down? Boston doesn't want to risk it, just fires off the aerial ace, looking to remove them from the field of play. The opponent invests that Protect Shield, and are able to reach a charge move. We've got a close combat bank, so Wincon is hoping the close combat nukes whatever's in the back. Ghost Grass type, is that Trevenant? Oh wait, Decidueye unfortunately goes double resist fight in, as that isn't going to pick up the one hit KO, and Boston is going to take a heartbreaking loss. In the next battle, we see public enemy number 1, aka Wallface, and we have got 3 close combat users. Oh boy, we're going to nuke that thing at some point. The opponent save switches into Shadow Victory Bell. We send out Sneasel. Sneasel shields up an Acid Spray, which is pretty unfortunate. What isn't unfortunate, though, is the opponent send out a Charmer into our Poison Jab user as they are petrified of that close combat coverage. Granbull invests the Protect Shield on the Aerial Ace. Boston now sends back out Ursaring. Ursaring gonna fire off the Trailblaze, looking to pressure the opponent's final Protect Shield. The opponent running a Toxic Charmer, of course they're shielding everything, and it's all down to Sneasler to clean up. Boston not messing around, goes straight for the Aerial Ace, removing Granbull from the field of play. Feed us that Wallface back out, comes a stupid brick wall, but it's going to be straight in and straight out. Close combat, double super effective. Get your stupid Wallface off my screen, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see some Shadow and Shadow Crime. Ursaring into Galarian Weezing. Boston going to farm up, make a very nice Brutal Swing catch onto his safe switch of Sneasel. The opponent answers our Sneasel safe switch with Wish Daddy Cash. The opponent allows us to reach the close combat. Oh boy, come on trainers, just an aerial ace. I promise, close combat. Oof, almost picks up the one hit KO. Boston could shield and look to go for that resisted poison jab farm down. But he's like, nah, I've got a glassy team. We're just going to take some farm. Instead, sending out Sneasler. Sneasler gets a very nice Shadow Claw farm down. Back out comes Galarian Weezing. Boston going to farm up. Fire off the Aerial Ace. As this is Shadow and Shadow Crime, it likely pressures the shield. The opponent invests that Protect Shield. Boston with 2 Protect Shields, 2 hard behind. Going to invest one as well. The opponent fire off the Brutal Swing bait, but no bait. We'll be saving this Galarian Weezing's fate. Boston fires off the next Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace picks up the knockout. Out comes a Bomber Snow. Boston banks the Aerial Ace for the road, pivots into Ursaring. Boston just going to shield up the incoming charge with the opponent. YOLO the energy ball. Boston going to fire off the close combat. The opponent can pick their poison. They're unwilling to shield. Recognise they're going to get spammed with too many super effective charge moves and get nuked through the protect shield. In the next battle, we see a charm, Alolan Ninetales. Boston going to stay in. The opponent pivots out into Marowak. And we answer with Sneasler. This should be a good matchup, but these fire spins are tearing us apart. Holy cow. Marowak also has access to Bone Club. Bone Club used to be one of the worst moves in the game. It's now pretty good, so Boston forced Investor Protection. He returns fire with the Aerial Ace. Went for an undercharge. Oh, the undercharge. Looked like a good one, but the opponent able to reach the next Bone Club on a sliver of HP. Boston not only doesn't have switch, but he's down to Protect Shield as well. We send back out Ursaring. Alolan Ninetales re-enters the arena. Boston fires off the Trailblaze, forcing the opponent's first Protect Shield. We then pivot out into Sneasel. Is Swampert in the back. This game looks more or less unwinnable. We're pretty reliant on the opponent looking to call an Aerial Ace bait. So if I was Boston, I'd just YOLO the close combat. Boston actually goes to the Aerial Ace bait. Aerial Ace. No, went unshielded as well. In fairness, these mud shots have just got us far too low. So even if we would have removed Swampert from the field of play with the close combat, we would have just got tap charm farm down. Oh man, tough game. Heading into the next battle, we see Ursaring into Tentacruel. We see the immediate pivot into Sneasel. Once again, baiting out Swampert. Boston this time, not messing around. YOLO in the close combat. Does the opponent respect the damage? They do not. Get that Swampert off my screen. Back up comes Big Squidward, but Sneasel still not done. Gonna fire off the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace goes unshielded. The opponent looking for that fall. Poison jab farm down. I thought we was gonna reach one more, but unfortunately we did not. But we've done so much damage. This Tentacruel is more or less at around a third health. Boston sends out Ursaring. Boston looks to call the bait. The opponent fire off an acid spray. Boston then catches the next one onto Sneasler. Oh boy, Boston catching acid sprays left, right and centre. Out comes Venusaur. These Vine Whips are resisted, even with a double debuff defense. The opponent not going to be able to fully Vine Whip farm us down. And what the heck is his opponent doing? Why didn't you shield? Apparently Boston and this opponent had a gentleman's agreement that they weren't going to shield anything. Boston going to Shadow Claw farm down with all shields remaining intact. GG's to both trainers. In the next battle, we see Ursaring into Wish Daddy Cash. This is where the team wants to see it. We've seen Mud Shots with the rework do far too much damage to our poison types in the back. Boston tanks the Mud Bomb, returns fire with the Trailblaze. I promise, trainer, it's a Swift. I promise you it's a Swift. The opponent looks to call the Swift. There's another boom. Holy cow. Boom's going off left, right and centre. Out comes Glaring Weezing. We fire off one further Trailblaze. The opponent still not shielding anything. Oh boy, there's another opponent that's going to die with two shields intact. Boston sends out Sneasel. He's like, I'm actually going to use a shield. Correctly shields up the play rough. Out comes Trevenant. Oh boy, this game is absolutely over. We fire off the Aerial Ace. This opponent chooses to invest to protect shield. We see the instant no shield from Boston. The opponent fire off the Seed Bomb. Seed Bomb doesn't get the job done. Boston gets off as much poison jab damage as he physically can, then pivots out into Sneasler. Sneasler going to also fall victim of the Seed Bomb bait, but no bait will be saving this opponent's fate as they are going to die to quick moves. This is only a brutal swing. Brutal swing won't be lethal. The Shadow Claw will be knocking him out and Boston takes that game. And that is going to draw to a close. Set number 2 where Boston chalks up yet another 4-1. Heading into the final set of today's Shoutcast, Boston very kindly gave us 3 sets, and I am loving this showcase. We saw Aridos in the lead. Boston tried to catch a lunge onto Sneasler. Unsuccessfully, the opponent does opt to debuff us before sending out the Penguin. Oh boy, come on trainer, let it go. Oh boy, there's another boom through the Protect Shield, and we have found ourselves in shambles, which is pretty common to see on this channel. Back out comes the Spider. A Trailblaze might knock us out. Lunge won't get the job done. The opponent fires off the lunge. They're able to Poison Sting farm down afterwards. We now send out Sneasler. I think I called Sneasel there in the mid game. I think I'm going to do that quite often in today's video and get far too confused. The opponent continuing to fire off lunges after lunges. Boston can consider shielding here, but he's still reluctant. And we are now left at a sliver of HP. Oh boy. Out comes Machamp. So I guess Boston probably should have shielded something. The opponent doesn't commit to that full Karate Chop farm down, giving us a fighting chance. We're very close to back-to-back Aerial Aces. I think we're one off. We might actually have it. Let's see. The first aerial ace forces the opponent's final protect shield. We're not doubled up, but able to survive the karate chop. Reach the next aerial ace. Aerial ace does secure the knockout. We shadow claw farm down Ariados and take another very close game. That was crazy as well. Heading into the next battle. This is a non-shadow version of Save and Ice. So they're going to be able to survive the Trailblaze. And I'm pretty hopeful that we actually survive a foul play. Although I won't hold my breath. Trailblaze goes unshielded. Come on, Ursaring. You can survive one move. Boston, like, I've learnt my lesson. I'm just going to shield and look for that Shadow Claw farm down. And I cannot blame him whatsoever. I think that's the better play as we leave at almost full health with residual energy good to go. And out comes Swampert. Uh-oh, trainer, you're in trouble. The first Trailblaze forces the opponent's first protect shield. The big bear says there's plenty more of where that comes from. The opponent double shield Swampert. Boston can just let this go. The boosted Shadow Claws have put him into aerial ace range from either our back two Pokemon. Boston sends out Sneasler, which is the correct play as our Shadow Claws will be hitting for neutral, whereas the poison jabs would be resisted as ground does resist poison. Sneasler also generates energy quicker as Shadow Claw is 4 EPT compared to Poison Jab's 3.5. The opponent sends out the Steel Penguin. Boston farms up, makes the catch onto Sneasel. The opponent fires off the Drill Pet, go for the undercharge. They're going to look for that Metal Claw farm down, but Sneasel hangs on, reach the close combat, and Sneasel is going to be the one to pick up the big boom. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we see Ursaring into Machamp. Two much better response in the back, as we've got two things that resist fighting, as opposed to take super effective. The opponent stays in a really poor matchup. Unless they're on Heavy Slam, everything here is going to be resisted. Although a Legacy Stone Edge probably wouldn't look resisted, as you can see. Oh my gosh. That is a non-stab move as well. That was ridiculous damage. The opponent then sends out Shadow Sableye, getting a running start on energy, but Boston could just send back out the Big Bear, where we do double resist this Shadow Claw damage. Boston shields up the Power Gem. I'm not entirely sure why the opponent threw a Power Gem there. Foul play is better DPE. But it is what it is. Ursaring fires off the Trailblaze, removing Sableye from the field of play. Back out comes Machamp. Machamp is now switch locked. Are we going to respect the Stone Edge? We've seen it does so much damage. Boston doesn't shield up the Stone Edge. Another resisted move almost knocks us out. Out comes Carbink. Carbink tanks the close combat. Ursaring has access to Trailblaze, which is going to be super effective. The opponent shields the first move, which is something they certainly don't want to do. I guess they're kind of forced to shield, to be honest. Boston gonna shield in return, blocking up yet another Power Gem. Boston gonna be able to outpace, firing off the next Trailblaze. This is now boosted, easy gonna pick up the knockout. Machamp gonna look to Karate Chop farm down. The Big Bear says nah. Shadow Claw farms down, and we take that game. In the next battle, we see Salazzle in the lead. This attack-weighted Pokemon running Incinerate is going to be somewhat of a problem, as we haven't got a single Pokemon that's going to be able to tank them Incinerates well whatsoever. The opponent sends out Overquill. We fire off the neutral close combat, near picking up the one-hit KO. Boston removes it from the field of play with a resisted Shadow Claw, and we then see the pivot into Sneasel. The opponent goes straight for a Poison Fang that is resisted, but that does lower our defense. We're actually still able to survive the next Incinerate, which is very nice for us, which means we should force a Protect Shield back with the Aerial Ace, which we do indeed. This Salazzle still going to be somewhat of a problem. Boston waits out his clock, sends back out Ursaring. The opponent pivots out into Primarina. Oh, we don't reach the Trailblaze. Oh man, that's tough. It's now all down to 2 Shield Sneasler to clean up. Boston, of course, going to be shielding everything at this point. Shields at the Hydro Cannon, then overfarms before firing off the Aerial Ace. I imagine the opponent put it all on Salazzle. The opponent going to fire off the Poison Fang instantly. Can we survive the next Incinerate with a debuff defense? No, we can't. Very well played from that opponent. And we're going to take a heartbreaking loss. In the next battle, we see Drifblim in the lead. A commanding lead for us, as the Astonishes are going to be double resisted. The opponent save switches into Galarian Weezing, and once again, staying school kids, learn to count. Boston catches the Brutal Swing onto Sneasel. So the counts for Fairy Wind to Brutal Swing. It's nice and simple. It's going to be straight 4s. So with that knowledge, we know this can only be a Brutal Swing. Boston tanks the next Brutal Swing. Gonna fire off the Aerial Ace. He actually goes for a cheeky undercharge in case the opponent doesn't look to shield. But of course, they're gonna look to flip switch, because they don't want that Astonish user anywhere near our normal type. Boston doesn't really need switch. We've got 2 Shadow Claw users, but ideally we'd like that Blimp on our normal type. Boston sends out Sneasler. This time the opponent does commit to a play rough, so Boston, not messing around, wanting to play any silly bait game, just fires off the air relays, removing them from the field of play. No shot. What a risky catch, but what a catch from the opponent, catching the air relays onto the basic bitch tin can, but this game's still over. The opponent can shield this close combat up if they wish. Ursaring would just knock them out of a close combat, and even with a lowered defense, Ursaring is never ever getting Astonished farm down. The opponent put it all on their blimp, but this game's over. The opponent don't even tank the Trailblaze, recognizing with 2 shields there's nothing they can do, and Boston is going to emerge victorious. GG's, and thanks for playing. And sadly, that is going to draw to a close today's Shoutcast. As always, Boston, the pleasure is really all mine. You are such a fun battler to Shoutcast. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button if you're new. Consider subscribing if you like your battles featured on my channel. My battle submission form is linked down below. And as always, a huge thank you to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.